All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome. It's been a while, huh? Make sure the seatbelt doesn't fuck with this new microphone that I have. So, funny story. Funny story. I got this microphone so that I could, be more consistent with the vlog. Because my boy, who is in the back of the car right now, has decided that he's down to one nap a day now, which is great, I guess, but it means that I can no longer reliably count on having, an hour at 9 o'clock in the morning to do what I need to do. So my free time has essentially been cut in half for the daytime. And now I have these big marathon chunks of watching my son, which are great and everything, but he's also fully in his toddler phase now, and he's really taking the toddler baby stereotypes very seriously. He's making sure that he lives up to all of the things that they say about toddlers and how difficult they can be. Now, having said that, he's a joy. I love him to pieces. But the point is I have no free time. So I realized, if I'm going to do this vlog, I need to find a way to do it while I'm doing something else. There's no way for me to just set aside time to stand in front of the camera anymore at this phase in my life. Because the thing is, my New Year's resolutions, which I know I've talked about on this channel before, my number one is to focus more on my main YouTube channel. And I have come to the realization that, I can pretty much only do one thing. And included on that list of one thing that I can do is anything at work. Now, no one watches this, so I feel reasonably safe in saying that my job has sort of evaporated over the course of the last few years, but no one at my place of employment, which I will not mention, seems to really notice. So I do what I have to do for sure. I try very hard not to neglect my duties, but it just isn't 40 hours of work over the course of a given week. So most weeks I am able to spend my free time doing things that I care about. Anything that I care about, and that includes deep cleaning the house, which we're long overdue for. Working on my, main YouTube channel is the thing that I want to spend all of that time on, and for the sake of keeping my promises to myself. But over the last 2 weeks, and invariably anytime something pops up at work that I actually need to do, that I need to focus on, it winds up taking all my free time, because I can't work on the computer while I'm watching my son. It just doesn't work. He loves to play on the computer, so if he sees me typing away and clacking away on there, he's going to get frustrated. He's not going to want to do anything else. He is not going to leave me alone. He's just going to be crying and trying to get the computer himself. So that's one thing that I really just can't do. So when I'm laden with big projects at work, and I have been over the last 2 weeks, it winds up just taking up the only free slot that I have during the day. And if the project is bigger than, an hour and a half a day of work, then it winds up taking up some of my free time at night too, or not getting done. So all that is to say, I think I underestimated the degree to which the switch to one nap would completely fuck me. And it's funny because before, when he was on 2 naps, I thought so much to myself how I didn't appreciate having a complete suite of free time every day to just do anything that I wanted, but before I had a kid. And now I'm thinking wow, I had 2 naps every day, and I wasn't the most productive fucking human being on the face of the earth. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Now I have no time, but I guess I have an hour and a half every day, reliably. So all that is to say, I made the switch to get, the influencer mic. And now I'm going to try to do this while I'm doing other things. And that's probably going to be on my way to the gym, usually, maybe on my way back from the gym. It's my happiest time of the day. But occasionally it'll be now, going to get groceries. I'm doing a bunch of errands. The car has been in the shop for the last few days, so we're low on everything, even though I tried my very best to stock us before we brought the car in. Just these things happen. Anyway, I've recorded this before. I've done a full vlog talking about what I want to talk about on this vlog before. And I went to like upload it this morning, like 2 weeks after I filmed it, because, you know, this is just what my life is like now. And I realized that I filmed the whole thing in like a hyperlapse. So I have the audio from it, but like the video is in like 5 times speed. So like, I don't know. I'm not going to slow the video down by 500% and then throw the audio on it, because the frame rate will be weird probably. I mean, I'm sure that it will be, but so I figured I'll just scrap it and try again. So this is me trying again. Hopefully it works this time. Hopefully this microphone is picking up everything I need it to pick up and not anything that I don't need it to. So what I talked about last time, and I'm going to talk about again this time, is that we went on a family vacation to Cozumel, Mexico, which is a small island near Cancun. Island pretty much has only ever existed as like a tourist destination, from what I understand. Yeah, buddy, we're going. He doesn't like when we're not moving. So we went on this vacation, and it was a bit of a nightmare in many ways. And I'm going to kind of just give a quick synopsis of the good and the bad and the things that we've learned, and, you know, we'll go from there. Hopefully that'll be done by the time we get to BJ's, because I don't want to have to break this up, but I will if I have to. So, the trip there, I had a lot of trepidation about it. We did a lot of planning. My wife handled all of the logistics, as she always does, because she's better at it than I am, and she seems to get some kind of pleasure out of it, and I'm not good at it, and I greatly appreciate that she handles all of the logistics. Having said that, I am not saying that she handles all of the logistics to put blame on her. She does the logistics as a favor to us. So, like, it's still my responsibility to also handle logistics. And she's constantly communicating with me and keeping me in the loop about the things that we're doing. So this is not to say, like, my wife handles logistics and the logistics were a nightmare. The logistics were a nightmare, and we both underestimated the degree to which travel with a child would be difficult. So, to get there, we had to drive to JFK. That's about an hour. We left at 5 in the morning. Still traffic on the road. It's unavoidable, I guess. Drive to JFK. Not the most pleasant drive in the world, even at 5 in the morning. Flight was at like 10 something, so we were in the airport just standing around for a few hours. The boy did not love that. He wasn't walking at the time. He is walking now. So like, I feel like if he could walk, it would have been better, because we would have been able to put him down and let him like go, you know, places. But I don't want him to crawl around on the floor of an airport. That isn't really the best for me anyway. It just didn't seem like a great idea. So in the airport for a few hours, then the flight. Flight is like 3 hours. Not terrible. Honestly, both ways, the flight was the best part of the trip. A little bit difficult with my son. Is like, you know, he wants to explore, he wants to see things. He's already been held for way too long, you know, in the car and the airport and everything. Like, sitting still in a plane was not really what he wanted to do. But we had a million snacks and we had other things to distract him, and like, he was tired because we woke up at like 4:30 to get in the car at 5, and then like, he didn't sleep while we were holding him in the airport. So we got on, you know, the plane at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was ready to go. He was overtired. He was like frantically overtired. So we got on the plane, did the flight, wasn't terrible, managed to get him to sleep. So he slept for like an hour and a half, probably on my wife's lap, which was great for me. I watched the Ninja Turtles movie that came out last year, surprisingly good. But then we got off the plane. And from the plane, it was a short shuttle, right? They said like a 45-minute shuttle to a ferry, and then a ferry to the resort. But in reality, it's a ferry to the island that the resort is on, and you need to take another cab from there. We have the baby, and he has a car seat. So, like, that's something that we're carrying with us, and that I needed to put into every vehicle we went on and take out of every vehicle that we got out of, notwithstanding the plane. We were able to check it on the plane. Also, the shuttle from the airport to the ferry was like a shuttle by the travel agency, so they were dropping off a bunch of other people at a bunch of other resorts, so maybe it would have been 40 minutes, like, door to door, but with all the other stops, it was closer to an hour and a half. With the boy, like, freaking out, not happy, you know, losing his fucking mind. I'm gonna take a break in the narrative to tell you about the amount of things that we had with us. Honey, are you okay? I think he's just coughing for fun. We had 2 rolling suitcases, 1 duffel bag, 3 full backpacks, the baby's pack and play, which is like a crib that folds up into like a little fucking like rectangular, 3-dimensional rectangle, but it's heavy, and his car seat and his stroller. So like, it was too much. If we had twice as many people, it would have been difficult. But with the amount of people we had, it was impossible. Like, we could not carry all of this shit. I, like, pulled something in my leg, and, like, you know, getting to the ferry, I, like, pulled a muscle in my leg. And the thing is, like, when we were planning, it's like we can check the things in the flight, and then we can check the things on the ferry, and then, like, you know, after that, we'll be there, right? Or it's going to be another cab. And, like, what we hadn't considered is, like, the unpacking and repacking of all the things, or getting from the gate that the flight was on to the shuttle was so difficult. Like, each step was extremely difficult. Now, also, something I didn't mention, we have the baby. So, like, he's not luggage, but we certainly need to carry him. And yeah, we brought the stroller, so we can put him in the stroller. But, like, on the way back, we wound up putting him in a little carrier on my wife's back, because the stroller was much better used as a cart for all of our other things. It was a ridiculous and unsustainable amount of things that we brought with us. And getting them into each different vessel was an absolute fucking nightmare. And, like, for me personally, I pack light. I'm a minimal packer. When I'm traveling, I like to have a bag with me. I, like, didn't understand even that, like, on a flight, it wasn't until I was, like, a fucking grown-up that I realized that a checked bag, that a bag and a small item is allowed. That means you basically get, like, a duffel bag and a backpack. Like, I used to fly and I would bring 1 bag. That would be it. And it would go in the overhead. And, like, maybe I'd have a backpack with, like, my fucking laptop in it. Like, if anything, you know? So this is just not for me, this type of travel. Just not for me at all. Didn't like it one bit. But we did it. So, all in all, by the time we finally got to the resort, it was, like, over 12 hours of travel. We left the house at 5 in the morning. We got to the resort at around 8 o'clock at night. And the boy was just done. And I just felt so terrible. I felt like the worst fucking parent in the world. Because, like, we didn't need to go on this vacation. You know, no one had a fucking gun to our head. We did not need to go on a vacation. Sure, we could have used some time off. Who can't use some time off ever at any given time? But we certainly didn't need to go on a vacation, and we certainly didn't need to go to fucking Mexico. Like, none of this was necessary. And I just felt like I had put my own, like, desire to go get fucked up for a week and drink margaritas over, like, considering my son and how he would handle the whole situation. And by the time we were, like, in the ferry getting there, and, like, the waters were choppy and no one was feeling amazing and we were all tired and the boy was freaking out, like, I was just done. I was at such a low point that I felt like a terrible parent. I felt like I would have given so much to be back home. Like, fuck the vacation, just to be back home at that point. Yeah, honey. All right, well, we're halfway through, so we're going to have to break this up into a couple pieces. Let's see if I can find everything that I need to find to turn these things off. All right, so to continue our story. Hi, Mello. So me and the boy are just wrapping up our errands now. We went to BJ's and TJ's. Oh, excuse me. So, yeah. To continue. The trip there was, I guess, like 15 hours, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I think it was around 15, though. And by the end of it, my son was just done. He was like completely over it. He was crying. Like, he fake cries a lot, or like, crying is the only thing that these babies have, like, their only tool to express themselves, really, in like any kind of clear way that we understand to a degree anyway. And so he'll like cry, to get what he wants or to tell us he's unhappy a lot. But like, there won't frequently be tears involved. Like, we can tell when he's crying because he's upset, like really upset, or if he's crying because he's in some kind of physical distress, or if he's crying just because he hasn't gotten something that he wants, or like for a minor thing. Like, he cries whenever my wife or I leaves the room, he will cry, and like, it lasts 20 seconds usually, and then he's done. But the way he was crying at the end of this trip, it was like a combination of distress and like being extremely upset. It was a really difficult cry. It wasn't stopping. It was tough. On the cab ride from the ferry to the resort, which was 20 minutes, and the last leg of our journey, he was like beyond upset, and he actually, like, I feel like he like broke through like being in extreme distress, because he managed to calm down for like the first time in like 4 hours, because my wife was playing music for him on her phone, which, thank goodness, the boy loves music so much. Like, a good portion of the shuttle from the plane to the ferry, he was in extreme distress, but we were able to calm him down by putting my headphones on him and putting music that he likes on. So anyway, we got there, and the resort was fine. I've never been to like an all-inclusive resort before, and what I was looking forward to was like drinking nonstop, pretty much, and it certainly had that. The rooms were good. They weren't like incredible, but they were very clean, and the like cleaning staff was really on top of everything. Did a really thorough job, cleaned every day, never were like in our way in any sense, like really appreciated them. The pools were nice, the grounds were really well maintained, the food was not good, which is like, we kind of knew that going in, that like resort food is never amazing at an all-inclusive place, I think I underestimated the degree to which it would get to me, because like, I can eat, mediocre food, and it was like some of the stuff at the buffet, depending on the day, would be pretty good, but like, just by and large, it was not very consistent, and it was never amazing. And I think I underestimated the degree to which that like homogeneity would start to get to me, because like, there's 3 like a la carte restaurants, as it were, at the resort that you need to make reservations for if you want to go. It's included and everything, you just need to make a reservation. And like, even those, like, it's all coming from the same place, there isn't like, you go to like, we went to the hibachi place, and then we went to the Italian place, and like, it was obvious that like the same kitchen is kicking out all this stuff. It was fine. The food was fine. It wasn't a highlight. I think if I were to go to Mexico again, I definitely would not want to do something all-inclusive, because the way it wound up working was like, our resort and all of the resorts there are like behind like big gates and armed guards and shit like that. And ours was like a 20-minute cab ride to like anywhere, downtown Cozumel or whatever. So we didn't get to like eat any real Mexican food, which was kind of a shame. We've been to San Diego though, and we had really good tacos there, so whatever. I'm down to go to Mexico again. Anyway, a highlight of it was that the staff there were all delightful, and they loved my son. And I try not to say his name on here just for the sake of like whatever, but he has an Italian name that also is a Spanish name that has the same pronunciation in Spanish and Italian. And they loved his name, and he's like beautiful. It's a shame that I can't show him off here, because I'd have 1 million subscribers just to see his cute fucking face. But he's an absolutely adorable and beautiful baby, and he's got these big shining blue eyes and a just adorable head of hair. And he's got these fat cheeks. He's the cutest baby I've ever seen. And I was prepared. I've seen some fucking cute babies. And I also was prepared to, like, not have the cutest baby I'd ever seen. And I understand that a good amount of this is biology, like, twisting my views. But I feel how I feel. So obviously the staff was, like, mostly staffed by women, and obviously they loved him. And so everywhere that we went, they knew him by name, and they would ask him how he was, and, like, he can't talk, but, like, he appreciated the attention. He seemed to, anyway. And the way that Mexican women say his name is very beautiful compared to the way that Americans pronounce it, us included. So the actual stay there was pretty good, but then trouble came. So, like, we were there for 5 full days, I believe, and, like, he had a great time. Full day 1, full day 2, was probably my, like, favorite day there. I got completely tanked. They had a foam party at the activity pool, which we went to, hanging out at the swim up bar. Like, day 2 was great. Day 3 was pretty good. Day 4, my son was starting to be, like, very cranky. Like, he just seemed kind of like he was over it all. And we thought, like, okay, like, it's been the same thing day after day after day. Maybe he's just a little bit over it. Like, he wants to do something different, He's, like, splashing around the kid pool all day long. Like, I guess it'll get old for them. But then on our final full day there, he was clearly not well. Like, he felt warm. He didn't look right. Like, he was all sweaty and fucked up looking. Like, he was cranky beyond toddler crankiness. It was like he seemed like he was in distress, and we were in distress, and, like, I was just dreading the trip home so much. Like, the entire trip, like, time that I was there was dampened by what a tough experience we had getting there, and me knowing that we would have to repeat it on the way back. So, like, that on the final day there was really weighing on me, like, quite heavily. And then, like, my son seemed to have a fever and was acting sick, and, like, I was just freaking out, because I'm like, we're in Mexico, we don't speak the language, we're on an island, like, so even if we needed to get him medical attention, like, we would need to do quite a bit of traveling in a land that we do not speak the tongue of to get us where we would have to go, and then what, But he obviously was sick. And our plan the night before we left was just like, okay, let's just try to get home. Like, unless he's in extreme distress tomorrow, like, we need to just kind of power through. And that night, my wife put him to bed at, like, 7:30, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go to bed too, was what I said, because I was just so, like, stressed out between the trip, the upcoming travel, and him not feeling well that I could barely function. And so I just lay there in bed imagining, like, terrible scenarios that could possibly happen, or, like, what could possibly be wrong with the boy, and I cried like a little fucking baby for, like, an hour and a half probably. And then I felt better for all the crying, and I was able to go to sleep. That night he woke up, like, a number of times because he wasn't feeling well, obviously. And my wife was, like, amazing. She was able to, like, comfort him back to sleep without taking him out of his crib. So we were all able to get, like, enough rest for the day ahead, and we took the trip back the next day. And I won't go into extreme detail about the trip back. I will say that my son was clearly feeling better than he had the day prior, which was good. But we also noticed a rash on his feet. And those of you who have children or any experience in life probably know at this point that he picked up Coxsackie, either in the kids' pool or in the little kids' play area that we had him in. Coxsackie comes with a fever that typically only lasts the first day that you get it. I have never had it. I've never known. My wife had it once, but, like, as an adult, which apparently is weird. But, like, we didn't have it when I was a kid. Like, none of us got it, so I didn't know anything about this. If I had, I probably would have been a lot calmer about the whole situation. I thought, like, in my mind, I'm like, he has a fever, who knows what's wrong with him, and he has a rash, who knows what the fuck kind of infection he got in these fucking pools, Anyway, he was feeling better. He had the fever. We, like, made it to the ferry in the morning and caught the ferry with ample time and got first class tickets. So, like, we're sitting there and it's, like, a much nicer situation. And we're on the ferry and, like, we're 15 minutes before the ferry is going to leave. Like, all checked in, bags on the ferry, everything. And, like, we're thinking to ourselves, you know what? Maybe this is going to be okay. Like, this is a good start. It's not going to be as bad of a trip back. We, like, rearranged our luggage a little bit. Like I mentioned earlier, we had my baby on my wife's back so that we could use the stroller as a kind of, like, cart luggage train or whatever, trolley if you want. So we're sitting on the ferry, and, like, it was supposed to leave at 8 in the morning, and, like, 8 o'clock comes and goes, and then it's 8:15, and finally at, like, 8:20, they were like, everyone has to get off the ferry. We're going to a different boat. This boat is broken. So we got off the ferry, and we left our little fucking, like, first-class four-top booth where we were sitting nicely and facing each other. And I had to get all the luggage off this ferry and put it on the other ferry, and the other ferry was basically the Staten Island ferry. Like, it was just, like, we were sitting on above deck. Fortunately, the weather was okay, but, like, we kept getting sprayed with water, and it was just, like, people packed in like fucking sardines, and on the way, like, to the mainland, the people who were waiting for us, our travel agents and their shuttle, said that they couldn't wait for us and that, like, it wasn't their fault that the ferry broke, so, like, they weren't gonna take us to the plane. And, you know, fortunately they wound up sending a second shuttle to get us because my wife wouldn't take no for an answer. Much fucking credit to her. God bless her. I love her. He took a giant shit and, like, leaked through his pants on the second boat as well, and, like, we couldn't do anything about it. So, like, my wife and I, by the end of the trip, were covered in shit. While we were waiting for the second shuttle, my wife changed the boy, like, on the ground in fucking Cancun. Yeah, you know, it was just not great. And we got home at, like, 9 o'clock that night, and my wife and I were just fucking done. Like, we didn't want to talk to anyone, didn't want to talk to each other, didn't want to do a single thing. But we did make it back. We made it back safely. And that was really all that I wanted. All that I could hope for, really. You know, like, I spent so much time the night before we left just, like, bargaining and praying to make it home in one piece and with everyone good and safe and happy, and we did. So, like, all in all, the trip was a bit of a shit show. If I were to do it again, I would do it completely differently. We'd stay in a resort, like, 20 minutes from the airport, probably, like, a half hour max, and with one shuttle and no ferry and no cab and no nothing. There were a lot of things we would do differently, but we did it. It was a learning experience. We do have some really nice memories that we'll be able to cherish. I took some good footage that I may upload at some point, maybe not. Who knows what will end up happening. I don't say the boy's name, so I'm probably not going to show his face either, so probably not, but we'll see. And we got home in one piece, and we learned a lot, and everyone's okay, and, like, it's good. And we had some really nice times there, but it also was a bit of a fucking thing. And I still have not felt like I've had a break, you know, because, like, granted, we had that time in Mexico and a couple of good days right in the middle there, but we were still watching the boy all fucking day long. And, like, yeah, I still am kind of, like, burning the candle on both ends. But we're home now. I got to get inside, unpack groceries, give the boy lunch. I got to do a lot of stuff. Hopefully I didn't time-lapse this one as well, because that would be fucking annoying. And maybe people will actually say